you know. And what we came to the conclusion, and obviously every time, it's like, how can we provide better service compared to either any other mortgage agents that's out there or any banking representative that's out there? And it's like providing the best service is important. Also creating that relationship, but knowing what's going to happen, what's happens through the process, be able to guide clients through the process, like from first time home savings account to the legal process to the bank accounts, like how the down payment is going to get distributed, like all these stuff, like having the right people in your corner is so important.
Welcome to the Ottawa Property Podcast with your hosts Tony McNeil and Adolfo Alvarenga. Each week, they'll take a look at what's happening in the Ottawa real estate market and offer practical advice and insights for listeners. From market updates to success stories, they cover it all. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about the property landscape in Canada's capital, they've got you covered. Sit back, get comfortable, and let's get into it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ottawa Property Podcast. It sounded like I was AI generated. My name is Tony McNeil. I am a realtor based out of Ottawa, Canada, joined always by my co-host Adolfo Alvarenga, level 2 mortgage agent with Referral Mortgages.
Hello.
We're back. Adolfo, what's up?
What's up?
You know what's up? You know what's up? I'll say this. If you're listening, if you're watching, if you're following along on the audio platforms, give us a like, give us a comment, share it with someone you think may find this information useful. We follow it all. We appreciate the constructive feedback, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to our nonsense rambling.
Nonsense rambling. You know what I just noticed on the screen?
What's that?
We're wearing the complete opposites.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go. That's good. More reason. They're giving the people what they want.
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
not just for your listening pleasure. Today it's for your viewing pleasure as well.
Yeah.
That being said, Adolfo, what is up, man? How's it going? How's your week been? Where are we at with everything?
Oh man, it's been a week. Though, mind you, I enjoyed the fact that it snowed because I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to rip the slopes this week,
Ooh.
so it was fun.
Shredded.
Yeah.
Shred the pow.
Yeah, pow. A lot of pow.
Shred
I thought
the
I was going
gnar.
to get stuck, but I did not.
That's good,
So
man. There was a
good.
lot of nice snow too, eh?
Yeah, it was good. It was honestly a good week. Like it's been busy, like in the sense of like there's always something to do for sure. But
So are you just like putting in mortgage applications from the chairlift? How do you do that a week?
yeah, have you not seen a video on Instagram or TikTok sometimes? There's a guy just like working from home, does the laptop on the chairlift as he's going up, and then or skiing down and snowboarding down with this with the laptop. Like
Yeah.
totally.
They got the
Totally.
green screen behind them. Just pretending to be in the office meeting. That was pretty funny. No, that's good. Yeah, we got a lot of snow, 20 centimeters in 2 separate days. So
Yeah,
I had to go home and shovel when I get home this evening.
same. So
Great times.
hey, it is. But we live in Canada. We live in a free world country so far.
Well, you know what? Free, but maybe more expensive with these tariffs, man. It's all we talk about now are tariffs and retaliatory tariffs and will the tariffs happen?
And the trade war had started.
Man, oh man, it's just so crazy. So we went on our last episode, we kind of left off with some speculation on it. I had said that I think it's a big bluff.
Yep.
I think Trump is just bullying us into getting whatever he wants. And it's not even really clear what the man wants. Like it's kind of like talking to a toddler sometimes. You know what I mean? Like he's like sees a squirrel and he's like, "Oh, something shiny. I gotta go in this direction now."
What do you want?
Yeah, just tell us, man. Just tell us. So he gets his 10,000 troops on the border of Mexico, and it looks like we're gonna have 10,000 personnels and a border czar, Canadian appointed border czar.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, man, it's so hard to make sense of it. It's funny enough, we had a Remax Connect conference yesterday, and there's a really great economic forum with one of the senior advisors for BMO, one of the vice president for Altus Group,
Okay.
our COO Steve Tabrizi, and one of the heads for Remax head office. And they were basically painting the picture of what the tariffs mean for just our economy and then our local real estate markets. And, basically, it's not all good news, don't get me wrong, but in Ottawa, it will probably be a little bit more insulated than, let's say, Southern Ontario seems to be. And from what I've been reading and following along with, like, the amount of trade that's going across, like, the Windsor bridges and tunnels, like, it can be pretty devastating to what's going to potentially happen if in 30 days from now we do see tariffs come in. Again, I don't think so, but.
Well, I mean, you were right on saying that it was going to get postponed, and it surely did. But it's hard to say. Like, even when, like, I'll speak on the mortgage side of stuff. Like,
Yeah. Tell us what happened.
Monday, obviously, this whole uncertainty started and stuff. Fixed rates went down.
Yeah, I heard
Monday.
that. Yeah.
And I think we got bombarded between Monday and Wednesday. We got bombarded with, like, emails about rates, about, like, okay, promos, because that's what happens. Like, the lending institutions basically send emails with promo rates,
Buy.
quick closes, 60
Yeah.
days and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
that they incentivize, right, to send it to them, and not necessarily, like, promote it as, like, oh, this is the rate sheet, this is what they have. It's just promotions. So then we had a bunch of promos, but then this morning we wake up and, like, most of those promos are gone, just because the market has already kind of shifted. So it was like a little boom.
Yeah.
So
And just the thought of potential tariffs, that's how the market reacted.
yeah. Imagine when they actually end up coming. So it's gonna be interesting in that way, because, like, it's obviously gonna hurt spending, right? Like, it's gonna hurt, like, business development and stuff like that. So, like, we're gonna have to wait and see, because it's hard to say, like, okay, this happened just by somebody announcing that this is the possibility that's gonna happen. What happens when it actually is gonna happen?
Yeah, it's like I said to you, the U.S. sneezes and everyone gets a cold.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
No, seriously. But I did ask you this as well, and I just out of curiosity, because, what did that number look like when the fixed rates?
So we had a promo
reacted?
rate. Let's say I'm just gonna talk on the 3-year fix.
Please.
3-year fix 3.99.
Wow.
That was as of Wednesday. I actually was able to submit a deal yesterday for that promo rate, so I'm hoping we end up getting that.
Mm-hmm.
But then as of this morning, that same rate went from 3.99 to 4.19.
Yeah, so 20
20
bips, as you say.
extra. Yeah.
20 little points,
20.20.
little bips.
That's what we call them, bips.
Okay, that's
Sure.
that's a pretty, like, yeah, there's a bit of a V there, like a sharp up, sharp down,
Yeah.
sharp back up. This is what I've been doing. I can't remember the guy's name. Saul something or other from BMO. He was predicting, they're betting long term at BMO, that we'll see another 75 basis points from a cut from the Bank of Canada by the end of 2025. He went on to say that if there are tariffs put in place, that they would expect that to they would expect there to be further decreases to the overnight lending rate.
Interesting,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, like almost by another full entire point. Yep, that's what. And this is I
So
shit
the-
you not. This
the
is what was said to us.
0.75 to another.
Point
So
75 0.75 to 1.75, depending on if tariffs happen or not.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. But I find this interesting because, like, I obviously, like, it's not my area of expertise in that way of how this is going to affect it, but it's going to affect spending. There's going to be less spending.
Absolutely.
But then that's also what affects the Bank of Canada's decision sometimes. Unemployment too, right?
Well, unemployment would go up, so rates would be, there'd be
Rates would go
downward
down.
pressure on rates.
Yeah.
From what I was reading about our manufacturing sectors in southwestern Ontario and agriculture as well, funny enough, didn't realize that. Did you know that most of the cherry tomatoes provided to U.S.-based customers are actually grown in Canada,
Oh, wow.
in southern Ontario? The southern Ontario is the greenhouse capital of North America or something like that.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that's
Or greenhouse capital of Canada, maybe.
But
Don't
on
quote me
the
that.
flip side of that, I was reading, like, auto industry and stuff like that. They have, like, factories here or developments here.
Yeah.
They were thinking, like, why have a major one here if it's going to be so expensive? They might move that all out to the U.S.
So that's the thing, and
Some industries is going to hurt us. Some, like, it's
they speculated on that. I think in Donald Trump's mind, it's like he's got it made up that it's this really easy transition just to pull all this manufacturing back into the U.S. It's not impossible, but it's exactly why free trade agreements exist, so both countries could kind of prosper off
from
this.
each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they were
you
put into
scratch
place.
my back, I scratch your back.
Well, exactly right. And I was listening to some a segment on CBC yesterday morning,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 2 auto workers in Windsor, and they were basically saying, like, I think it's Stellantis is the largest employer in Windsor. They do parts for, I mean, who knows how many actual brands of cars, but they're basically saying, like, sometimes these, because they're making the molds for the parts, then they're refining the parts once they get shipped. So basically, a single part for a car can go across the border like 6 or 7 times before it actually gets put into the vehicle.
Oh wow.
And I guess tariffs would be placed on it every time it crosses the border. It seems insane to me. So you can imagine that if these tariffs are going both ways now, like, this car is going to be so unaffordable that, like, no one's going to be able to afford to buy it. No one's going to want to buy it, which is why they say, like, the auto sector could come to a halt, or the manufacturing sector in within the automotive industry could come to a halt within like 2 days to 2 months, maybe 6 weeks.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
it just becomes so unaffordable, and the numbers just don't make sense. So then you would have mass layoffs. Unemployment would certainly spike in Canada, certainly in Ontario, which would mean downward pressure on rates. And I want to say that, and I've said this in multiple episodes, because I don't believe that their inverse effect is it's not a thing anymore. When interest rates come down, it doesn't mean that home prices are going to spike.
Yeah.
I think we're past that. Maybe we'll see it again in our lifetime at some point. But right now, even if rates come down a whole 1.75 basis, or 1.75 percentage by the end of the year, I do not think prices will go up, because we'll be likely in a recession at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in Ontario, a light recession. And like I said, unemployment numbers are down, which means, people's spending power is limited. People are not going to be thinking about making the move if they don't have job security and like economic prosperity within their own province.
Yeah, but in that you also have to add that too. So like, if the Conservatives take power while all this is happening too at the same time, then it's like you also have that aspect of like the unemployment increase.
Yep.
Like, it's, in a summary, it's hard to know what's gonna happen.
It's so hard.
And like, it's just even advising clients, like, do I go variable, do I go fixed? It's like I've gotten to the point that I'm like, what do you think is right for you at this point? Would you consider going variable if there's a bit of a possibility that rates are going to go down, but there's also the possibility of rates coming up at some point?
Yeah, I think it's highly possible.
So
I don't know.
it's just kind of leaving it to them in that way, because like, depending on the personalities, you can kind of see some people are willing to take the chance and be like, okay, yeah, let's go variable, let's ride the wave down, and others would be like, no, we saw what happened as the wave was going up, we're just going to stick fixed and let it be in our budget.
Yeah,
it's fair.
I respect it.
Yeah, but again, how do you? We don't have a crystal ball to know what's going to happen. And this year, I just feel there's so much uncertainty in these ways in the economy that it's just like,
it's week to week, man. It's day to day. It's so
Day to
crazy.
day.
It's like every 24 hours. It's something new. It's just
I'm
so.
telling you, we woke up this morning, 20 bips of a difference almost, like, in terms of like the bonds were like up and stuff. So like, I'm like, okay, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you can't. It's like you go to sleep for 8 hours and you wake up and you're in a totally different world sometimes.
Could be.
I think,
It could be.
again, long term, I think it's going to be fine. Like, inevitably this administration is going to have to take a firm stance on some of this free trade agreement. I did see something really funny. I mean, I don't. It's not like I'm conservative or liberal, or I'm not picking sides here, but I will say, like, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I'm not afraid to admit that. Whatever. Hear me out.
We just lost our 2 followers.
Well, it's fine. It's fine, because I stand by it. And I appreciate anyone who follows the guy. It is what it is. I'm not saying all of his stuff is wacky, but he was going on about how, like, these are the worst deals he's ever seen.
He's the one that put
Yeah, I
those
know.
deals together.
He's the one who put the deals together, man. And just like, you just gotta give your head a shake and say, like, this guy, like, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Like, you're talking about nonsense, man. Like, these are your deals. You literally just did this, 8 years ago when you took office for the first 4 years. Anyway, I digress.
He's gonna pin it on Canada and Mexico that it was them
It was us, yeah.
who bullied him to it.
It was Chrystia Freeland. It's her fault. I don't know, man. It's a wild time to be alive. But what I'll say is that, anyone thinking about buying or selling, it really just depends on your specific situation, what your goals are. Like, it could still very well be a great time to make a move for you, but we'd have had a lot of hard conversations of, like, do you have stable income? Like, is there going to be a chance that you will get laid off? Like, these are all things you want to take into consideration in buying or selling. And
Yeah.
it's you need to have a conversation. You need to have a trusted professional in your corner walking you through that, and people that have pulses on what the hell is going on out there, right? Because if you're not following the news cycles and how these global and national politics are affecting our local market here in Ottawa, like, you're not making an informed decision. You
Yeah.
just aren't.
And if the professionals that are guiding you are not following that too, like, or not aware of what's going on, and it's tricky
Yeah,
to
yeah. If I
provide
walked in,
proper advice in that way, right? But like, it was interesting because we had a meeting today this morning. I think I told you this is why we moved our recording to later today. But we're supposed to talk about the tariffs. This was scheduled from like last week because they were gonna take into effect.
they assumed that would
Tuesday.
be implemented by
And
now.
then we come to today, and then the first thing, like, our one of their main brokers basically is laughing. He's like, "Well, guys, this was supposed to be a meeting because we were gonna discuss what was gonna happen, but since it's not happened yet, how about we have like an open floor?" So we had like an open floor discussion, and the discussion was kind of like, because like it's such a competitive aspect right now of the rates, and it's so rate focused right now. How do you keep the clients, or how do we provide the best, And what we came to the conclusion, and obviously every time, it's like, how can we provide better service compared to either any other mortgage agents that's out there or any banking representatives out there, And these were the things that we kind of discussed as we were in our call. And it's like providing the best service is important. Also creating that relationship, but knowing what's going to happen, happens through the process, be able to guide clients through the process, like from first-time home savings account to the legal process to the bank accounts, like how the down payment is going to get distributed, like all these stuff, like having the right people in your corner is so important. And that's one of the things that I remember I have a client who I'm working with on a purchase, and that was one of the things I said, like, she's like, it's a little bit overwhelming, like I'm a little pessimistic, she went, and it's like, I feel like something's gonna go wrong, and I'm like, this is why you're working with the right professionals of it, and it's being involved, being knowing, and we've said this before, like, yes, the rate is important, but there's so many more factors to it that it's you have to take into account. Not everybody's not everybody sees this on a day-to-day basis, like it's you got to trust the ones that are in it and are completely involved into it, to give you the best advice possible so that they can guide you the best way, but like and I'm just going to segue into this. I know we talked about this offline, but I think this is important. I had a client who I'm doing a pre-approval for. He wants to buy a property with his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I was doing the interview, onboarding call, everything's good. I'm like, do you have any debts? He's like, a little bit of credit card debt, but nothing major. I'm like, okay. Pull his credit, because this is the reason why I always do. Turns out he has a mortgage already.
Oh, so that house I forgot to tell you about. Oh, I forgot about that house that I bought a year ago.
So I asked him, I'm like,
sorry.
So, no, it's not that he forgot the house, but I asked him, I'm like, so this mortgage comes up, like, did you co-sign for anybody? Because I'm, given the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know he bought a home. And he's like, oh yeah, I co-signed for my brother like 2 years ago, but I'm only like 1% owner on the property.
1% is enough percent.
Exactly. So that's where I was like, oh God, you have no idea in that way how much you let go because of that 1%. Like, I understand that
it seems like a small amount, 1% of 100, but if the other 99% stops paying the bill,
you're still responsible.
You're coming for you, man.
And this is the thing: is in the eyes of the bank or the eyes of the financial institution,
percentages mean nothing.
They just see who's guaranteed, who is. If for whatever reason you co-sign and the person doesn't pay their mortgage, you're still responsible. It's still going to affect your credit bureau.
100%.
So it's knowing. It's not knowing that that's what could happen, right? And I feel that that's important because it's something that we don't discuss enough about it. It's like, so I'm just going to kind of list it off of what happened, right? So by doing that 1% co-signing, which I think is you're trying to help 100%, great. But know what you're getting into, especially being a first-time home buyer that hasn't bought a home before. Yeah. This is very important. And it's, okay, you are sacrificing the aspect of you being a first-time home buyer because you're no longer a first-time home buyer at that point. So you can't use a first-time home buyer savings account that you've opened. Second of all, you withdraw the RRSP, the RRSP withdrawal up to 60K. That now is 60K, went from 35 to 60K. You're not able to use that as well. The land transfer tax rebate that's like up to $4,000
Gone.
like poof, by that 1%. So all this taken into equation, when he goes and buys a property, it's going to affect him
It costs him this much more now.
exactly, because the question now is like, if he had the RSP and he was expecting to use those, he can't use those until I think there's a time frame of 4 years that might be able to reuse them, but you have to have sold the home that you had.
Okay.
So you can't use the first time home savings account because you're not a first time home buyer either. Like, I actually had a conversation with another broker from another brokerage about this, because he's like, would you consider this a first time home buyer? And I'm like, actually, no, you can't redo that at least what I understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the tax benefits are gone there for them.
For the first time home buyer savings account, for the 30-year AM, like all these little things. It's like you
so
can't
true, right?
use anymore. That like now my qualification is like, well, we got to change all this completely, because and I kind of said like, okay, well, we can now qualify you, but the best step would be to take yourself out of your brother's property, if possible, so that we can remove that debt. He wants to buy something that's like closing in November, so we have time to work on it.
Yep.
But this is why I always say it's important to run your credit. Consider it as if you're doing a full application at that point. Run your credit. You don't even know, like co-signing. Make sure what you're co-signing for. Like, there's a misconception of like, oh, I'm just co-signing so that they get approved for the mortgage. I'm not going on title. And I think I've said this before in the podcast. If for whatever reason they're considering your income for the qualification, you're going on title. Know that there's no way that they're putting you on the mortgage and not on title.
Yep.
You're going on title.
Exist.
So there's co-signer and co-borrower. Most of the time it is a co-borrower.
I want to state.
I felt like I went on a rampage.
No, that was good. I mean, it was. I honestly was a bit shocked by your story on that one, because I find it hard to believe that someone would like. I know everyone's not in the industry. Maybe the financial literacy isn't as high as it should be, but if I co-sign on someone else's house, I'm going to remember that when I go to buy my own house.
But the thing is,
hear me out.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. But where I have,
someone didn't explain to him what he was doing when he did it.
That's where I'm
I'm with you.
That's
100%.
where I have a bone to pick.
Absolutely. So whoever the mortgage agent or specialist from the bank, whatever the case was, when they first signed that, did not explain the severity of what he was getting himself into.
Correct.
And everything that he was giving up for his future self.
Correct.
It's just wild, right? Like and I'm sure his debt ratios are probably a bit out of whack now based on what he wants to try to afford.
I can't. Payment is, and I have to consider the whole property, not just the mortgage, property taxes on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just like 50% of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, the whole
exactly. Thing. So, and this, I see this so much. It's normally not to this scale. Like that's pretty wild when you think about it. Usually, and we probably mentioned it before, but it's usually cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and it's always something we're very straight up about it. You know, as long as you're firm on a deal, you don't buy any major anything until closing date. You don't put new furniture on the credit cards.
Till after closing date. After you get the keys, do whatever you want.
And honestly, like it's bizarre, right? Because I've been in that position. We bought our house, or in the next couple months, we went out and bought a new vehicle. But had we done that before, like we would not have qualified. It would never have made sense. And I had client. It reminded me because we were going through the final walkthrough of our house or an inspection or something. He was like, "Yeah, my truck is crap. I just brought it in. I'm probably gonna have to go get a new one." He's like, I got an appointment lined up to see one this evening. I was like, are you buying it or are you financing it?
It's like you have to be on guard too.
Well, yeah, it was like, because I'm looking out for their best interest, right? Like, because if they don't close on the deal, like they're going to be on the hook legally and financially too.
And
right?
it's all about like one little thing that could have waited.
100%. Well, I just
Wait
said
a
that,
week.
I was like, you can go test drive it, but you do not have my permission to buy that vehicle until after closing.
So you need my permission.
Well, it is what it is, right? I do feel bad for your client, or you know, because had he just been explained what he was forfeiting, I don't think he would have done it. Or they would have done a different, they've gone down a different avenue or asked a parent or something like that, right?
Especially if he was considering at some point becoming a homeowner.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it just affects me. Like, you're better off asking somebody else that has already been a homeowner to co-sign.
Yeah.
That's like if another family member, like you said, a parent, a mom or dad or anything like that. Because now you, and even as the brother, maybe neither one of them knew, so he might not even know what he took away from his other
Yeah.
sibling. You know, like it's
They may have to like work out an arrangement that he pays them back some of these,
could be that's
incentives
a
that
private
he's
arrangement between them,
forfeited.
but it's just like you said, it's just interesting, the financial literacy, that sometimes you're not aware of what's going on, and I feel that there should be more about this conversations had and more about the knowledge.
Yeah,
being
and
done.
we stress it all the time. It's
Correct.
service is more important than rate.
Yes.
And it sounds like in this
Service and
situation,
knowledge.
rate was probably the most important thing at the top at the table when they were talking about this, and they're not realizing exactly what else was at stake.
I wouldn't. It's hard to know.
I'm
because we don't
speculating
know.
hard, but I believe it to be true, right? Because I don't think he would have done it.
Yeah, I mean,
And if he did it, and then he came to you 2 years later, he would have disclosed it because he
Ye-
would have known what he had already given
but
up.
this is the thing, and that's where I
Exactly.
feel that he didn't know, because he just said like, "Oh, I just co-signed," as if it was.
I just did it. It was no big
it
deal,
was no
right?
big deal. I just thought I wanted to help. Which
And co-signing on vehicles is the same thing too.
Yeah.
Like if your brother or parent says, "I need you to co-sign to get this vehicle," and you're thinking about buying something, it's gonna throw your debt ratio off.
Yeah.
Like it's there. It's on your credit report. It's not going anywhere, right? Unless you're removed from the title, which is, it's not impossible. But now you said it that his brother's now gonna have to try to qualify
on his own,
to try to get him off the title, even if it is just 1%. Like
you still have
it
to go
doesn't.
through the process of it.
This ownership percentage, it doesn't matter when it comes down to the monthly payments.
Monthly
affordability.
responsibilities
Thank
or
you.
responsibility of the debts, yes.
His brother might be paying the mortgage,
Where it
but
matters,
it's still on the paper though.
where it matters on percentages, and this was where I say it's always very important, is for the land transfer tax and capital gains.
Yeah, sure. Well, someone
But
goes to sell it.
that's in the near future when you decide to transfer it over or sell it off, right? So that's where it's important. On the flip side of like co-signing and as like the mortgage responsibility, that percentages doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you own 1%, 10%.
Yeah,
You're fully responsible for the payment.
wild.
Yeah.
I hope it works out for them, man. I do. I hope you're able to like coach them out of this like they've got themselves backed in a pretty big corner there.
I mean, we got time. I'm kind of happy that it wasn't like, oh, they have something in writing already and like it's on the hook about something. It's like, okay, we caught it right enough timing of it. So I'm hoping that's the case, but I'm happy that's the case. Sorry, but we'll see what we can do.
Your biggest challenge will be like his brother carrying this load that he wasn't able to get 2 years ago, unless his situation's changed substantially financially. Like it doesn't sound like he's going to be able to carry that mortgage.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, that's
TBD. Keep
like,
us posted
yeah.
on that. I'm
Yeah.
sure that anyone listening would love to know the outcome.
We'll see what
Right?
happens.
I'm curious. You have my attention. What else did we see this week? Multiple offers.
You saw multiple offers?
Did.
Ah, great. They're back.
No, I can't say that.
They are
There's
back.
a huge asterisk behind that. I was chatting with our teammate Shadi before I came here, and because of all this tariff talk, all this negative news, it's easy to become cautious about what the market is going to do. Should I get in? Should I sell? Should I wait? And I think we talk about it a lot here on the podcast about, if something is priced appropriately, if something shows well, if it's in an asset class of type of home that is in high demand, it's going to sell, right? So, and I think anyone thinking about buying or selling, like if you're dealing with a commodity that is in high demand and is sought after, like it's gonna be fine. It's a pretty safe investment to get in, and it's certainly a good time to sell if you're thinking about it too, right? As long as it's up there on that list. So this specific, it's a conditional sale. We signed the paperwork last night, but I was representing the seller. It's a great townhome, a perfect little townhome in East Ottawa. Really good price point, so under 500. It is a condo town, but it's well taken care of. I mean, everything was we had new AC, owned water tank. The roof was done like 10 years ago. Windows were done 5 years ago. Condo management is really well managed, so it checks off a lot of boxes. It's hard for people to not want to jump at something like that. So I'll give everyone a bit of a background. We've been on the market for about a couple of weeks. We had an initial offer within 4 days, and it was a great offer. I honestly can't say for sure because I'm not representing the buyers in that one, but I believe they got cold feet. Maybe something got spooked their agent was super professional and really kind of gave me an insight to how many homes they've seen together. They're shopping in Quebec and in Ontario. This agent was licensed in both, so she was kind of showing them everything. And I just think that something about it spooked them and they backed out. So we're back to the drawing board. I'm thinking, okay, the momentum's probably killed now. Did have a lot of agents that were kind of in the know about the first offer. They said, yeah, let me know, if it doesn't work out, maybe my guys will come back. And obviously, given our team and doing what's best for the client, as soon as that thing came back on market, I contacted every agent that showed a house. I said, listen, we're back. Let me know if you guys are interested. I can't say for sure how long it's going to be up again before we get something else. We're open to an offer whenever you want. So we did.
So did you get any offers from those agents?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Do you feel that you lose negotiation power when that happens?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you do. It's one of those things. I was actually going to make a video for my social media this week about your first offer is typically your best offer. And that's, with most things in life, right? Like you lose leverage because people will say like, oh, did they get cold feet? Like, was there any real problems here? Like, am I missing something? And people wonder, they get their eyebrows up and they say, what else, what's going on here? Maybe now I can go in a little bit under asking or try to negotiate a bit harder to get a price that makes more sense for me.
Yeah.
In this case, we kind of had that. Yeah. So, without spelling it all out, because it is a conditional sale, their first offer came in and it wasn't necessarily something we really wanted to work with, but I'm not ever going to let something just walk away. We had to give it a fighting chance to say like, well, it's something on paper. Let's just try to work with it. And we had a couple of days of back and forth. So this is where irrevocables were being extended out. And anyone listening, not sure what an irrevocable is. It's just the timing, the timeline for when you have to make a response to an offer by. So if I give you an offer on your house, it's good until 9 p.m. that night. You had to let me know yes or no by, or
so the other party, no. Right? So either the buyer,
the one submitting the offer, yeah.
Or the counter.
It changes then for sure. Basically, if I counter an offer back to a buyer, and then someone else brings me an offer, I can't do anything with the new offer until that buyer, the first buyer, responds to it, because I put the ball back in their court essentially.
And they can essentially just accept it by signing it
exactly. And I can't be legally bound to 2 contracts.
Exactly.
It's not a thing.
It's interesting because when I get those APSs, I get to see like the agreements. I get to see how much of the negotiation was based on how many times that irrevocable was scratched. Buyer, seller, seller.
Oh, this one was going back a bit, and it was about 48 hours of back and forth.
Right.
And then
got accepted.
No. Then the other 2 offers came.
Oh, damn.
So like, it's funny enough because we had signed it back to them, and someone else was. I think we might say something. We might bring an offer, and I was like, oh shoot, I just sent it back to them. Like I wish I had known this 6 hours ago. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm praying that they don't take it because. But
because the new offer you would have gotten better, or do you think that it was?
Well, I didn't know for sure. I didn't know for sure, but yeah, I can negotiate better terms if there's multiple offers on the table. So that's what happened. They actually signed it back to me again, and that opened up the opportunity for the other 2 offers to come to the table. Then, so then everyone has a chance to bring their best foot forward. We negotiated really a really good conditional deal for our people, and I could tell more about specifics of what those numbers look like.
Once we're firm.
Yeah, once we're firm in about a week or so. But multiple offers are back in certain circumstances. Let's put it that way.
I always say like we've had this discussion, but lately anything that's priced right, and anything that's fair, that seems fair, of a win-win for both the buyer and the seller, usually goes.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the thing. We priced it really sharply. We weren't way overpriced. We certainly weren't underpriced.
Yeah.
I think we were actually perfect. And I know it sounds really like gloaty and tooting my own horn, but it just based on the kind of feedback we received and the showing requests and that type of thing, like it really kind of proves the point. So it was really cool to see.
But that was also very important because you also had a conversation with like your client where the numbers kind of didn't align, but he still trusted you with what to go with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's also important.
For sure. It goes both ways, right? Nothing wrong with the outcome. We'll keep our fingers crossed that it all works out for both parties involved and go from there. If not, I'll have to go back to the other 2 offers and say, hey, we're back.
We're back for a second
Which
time.
I'll do. If I have to do it, I'll do it.
So I have a question. Did you end up, the one that you went back and forth, is that the one that you currently have, or is that another one? No.
Yeah.
Well, damn, it sucks for them.
Yeah. I've been there too. It's like, it's like if you're in a multiple offer situation, I think the thing about it is too, like with all this economic uncertainty and news developing daily, that people are very wary to want to overspend for something. So I think, it's like no one went crazy over asking and like blew the other competitors out of the water.
Yeah.
Like all three offers were very, very close, which again, really kind of really solidifies the fact that our pricing was sharp.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. Like you got one chance to make a good impression. You got 21 days, I think, of your first 3 weeks on market are so important. Like if you blow all your momentum, if you overprice and you sit on market for 21 days, you're like a sitting duck for a buyer to come along and go, bang, I'm gonna give this guy a haircut because no one else is going for it. So this is my opportunity to get it in a
usually
deal.
what we see too. Like I have
100%.
clients who are pre-approved and they're like, oh, how did the negotiation go? It's like, well, we're gonna offer this on this property, and I'm like, why? Just because it's been in the market for so long.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though, and you don't have to answer if it's too much information to disclose. What was the back and forth that you were on the revocables? Like price or conditions?
Mostly price for the first go around.
Okay.
And
was it like a big discrepancy?
it wasn't like out of this world. No, it wasn't. But, my seller had an expectation of where they wanted to be, and we were sticking to our guns on it, right? So the mistake that I would say that the agent made was that they gave me too much time.
Oh, it wasn't that quick.
Yeah, they gave me like a full day to respond, and if it was me on the other end, I wouldn't. It would have been like, you give me a yes or no by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning type of thing, right? Whereas I had until 8 p.m.
Yeah, so you
and I worked hard in those 24 hours, man.
To try to get another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you did right by your client, at that point, but it also tells you about experience, right? Like
well,
that's where it's important. But I also think
take nothing for granted, man. You gotta just even though it might. Even the person on the other side might say like, oh man, they didn't really give me enough time to work with that. That's really annoying. You'll get your response, right? Because we have an ethical duty to deliver that offer to our client for their response within the irrevocable provided. Yeah. So it's our duty to go find them and get you an answer.
You don't want to do it in an hour.
Of course,
you got to be realistic about it.
Yes.
But
there's professional courtesies involved in all this too.
The reason why I asked this was because let's say I don't know how much of a discrepancy was in terms of the pricing, but it's how much of a minimal difference it makes in terms of 5K, 10K.
Oh, I know,
terms of
the
your mortgage amounts and your down payment amounts, which is essentially what's important, right? Yeah. But we put so much emphasis on the price itself. I want a deal, or I want this. Just because of the satisfaction of this, you got it at the price that you wanted.
Everyone wants to win, right?
Yeah,
or feel like they're winning, I guess.
Where if you put it in terms of the numbers, actually see it more of a number perspective, you'll notice how minimal that makes of a difference. Yep. 5, 10K here, 10K, especially because it's not really coming out of your own pocket. It's a mortgage, right? It's not like you're paying an extra 10K and you have to come up with that extra 10K. That's what I mean.
I know what you're saying. 100%. I get it. $5,000 is a lot of money if it was sitting on the table in front of me right now.
Yes.
But over the amortization of a mortgage, what is that monthly? It's probably
$5.
Yeah. It's so crazy
$10
when you think about
if
it.
If anything. Not even.
Yeah. Wild, right?
But and in terms of down payment, it's maybe another $100 or $200. So that's where I'm it's educating the clients in that as a professional and being I'm not saying that it's not important. Obviously it's important. Any money is important for anybody. Of course. But it's just knowing how much of an importance that is compared to you really wanting.
If you really want that house, then correct. It's really and it's like a penny in a bucket type of thing, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
big
to each their own. But that's what I always have that conversation. Is when we put it down to the number aspect, this is your monthly payment if you do this is your monthly payment if you do this, then you start to make a decision, a well-educated decision of do you want to go ahead with it or not. And at that point is if the ball is in your court, you just have to accept it. It's done. Boom, no questions asked. It's it. If the other person would have, and I'm just putting myself in their shoes, if they would have just signed and accepted it, you would have had no power to do anything after that.
Exactly. And we gave them, there was a solid opportunity for them to do so, and they felt like they had more leverage to come back and renegotiate, and it ended up potentially, now it hasn't firmed up, but it potentially has costed them the deal. So.
Knock on wood. Hopefully it closes.
But yeah, that's it's been a busy week, man. Yeah, I'm not complaining at all. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a very interesting year for real estate. I'm excited to see what happens. We got another home inspection for a different buyer coming up on Monday, and it's an older 1900 is the year on the house. It's in Little Italy. It's a duplex.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
tidy. Yeah, good price point too. I'll tell everybody more about it too because the numbers actually made sense. It's two 1-bedroom units.
Okay.
Clients buying it as an investment, like they're not even moving into it.
So is it full rental?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
it's
that's
cool.
cool.
Yep, and I can. I'd like to tell people more about it because the history of the house and where it was fully renovated by the
Yeah, but
previous
let's
owner.
wait.
and stuff.
Let's wait until it's like a firm.
Yeah,
a
I don't want
firm
to
purchase
jinx
at
it.
least
Or
at
if
that
it falls
point.
apart, I'll still tell you about it. So it's all good. That being said, man, what do you got going on for the weekend?
I'm gonna take the little ones. My sister's, so my nieces skating.
Ooh, canal.
No, probably take them to like a little, like you're at by the Lansdowne, little.
Yeah, the community rink there.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just they're young.
We're
6
gonna
and
do the
3,
canal
so
on Saturday.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna skate or you're just gonna carry her.
I think I'm just gonna carry her, let her like walk around on the ice. She doesn't have skates, so and it's my partner's dad's. I guess not really father-in-law, but kind of soon to be maybe. It's his birthday pad this week, so we're gonna do like a brunch and then go family skating. It should be nice. And then
that should
got
be
an
fun.
open house on Sunday. So and then Super Bowl. Go Eagles!
Tony's like anybody but the
Fly
Chiefs.
Eagles fly!
Anybody but
You
the
may have
Chiefs.
the most annoying fan base in the world, but I'm rooting for you, man. Anybody but the Chiefs.
Oh man, that's good.
ABC.
Hey, there you go.
Anybody but the Chiefs. Anyway, guys, thanks for cheering us on. What am I talking about? Thanks for listening. If you're following along on the platforms, please, guys, let us know you're out there. Subscribe to the channel. Say hello. Drop us a comment. Give us a like. And
Let us know what you think.
enjoy your weekend. Because who knows what we'll be talking about next week. We'll have to see what happens day to day in the news. But in the meantime, enjoy the peaceful calm after the tariff storm and before the 30-day tariff storm.
We'll see what happens in 30 days.
Have
Ciao.
a good one.